Now this little strip shopping center has the Freedom Recovery Center, Anger Monument, St. Ignace. 3 different tenants here now. Last time we were up here, this was totally empty. And now it's nice to see that it's been fixed up a little bit and there's some actual tenants here. But several of these motels along here were closed down too, like 10 years ago. And they're all mostly reopened now. With a lot of them have a log cabin theme. And they're embracing their up north history instead of going with a more modern look. The road kind of just crosses over the expressway here, and then it's really kind of a screwy intersection. I gotta say, it's a very dangerous intersection. If it was a heavily trafficked area, this would be insanely dangerous, because you loop around over the expressway, you come down here and you make a stop right where the off-ramp for the expressway comes shooting through, which seems very, very sketchy to me. But that's okay, we're gonna come over here anyway. We're gonna have a quick look. I don't feel like we're going to climb the castle today, the rock. I'm kind of tired from climbing the other stairs, and I've done it quite a few times in the past, so I don't really feel a need to climb it today. But we do have to see a couple of the cool things that are still here from the iconic standpoint. Even though they've got it totally enclosed by chain link fencing and you can't get in anymore. We've got Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. Aren't they great? You pay your admission fee to get up to the climb the castle. You can get in beyond this first level of fencing, but when you get up close to Paul and Babe there, they don't want people climbing up. Basically, it's hard on the machine and things. People spray paint, vandalize, climb on them, and they don't want to have to deal with that kind of liability and maintenance costs. And I understand that. So there they are, looking good after all these years. I mean, these probably date back to the late 1940s, the mid 1950s, I would guess. And if you've never seen Castle Rock itself, well, all we got to do is look up. And there is Castle Rock with the American flag flying proudly on top. It's one of those rock outcroppings like St. Anthony's Rock they have in downtown St. Ignace that we talked about. And like the Arch Rock and Sugarloaf Rock on Mackinaw Island, they're all pretty similar in their composition, style, and origin. And someday that will probably fall. It looks like more and more of it's been falling away on the stem going upwards over the years. So eventually it's going to reach a point where they, well, I would say where they close it, but not necessarily, because the bridge going over to it is highly engineered with support beams and railings. So theoretically, even if it starts to fall away underneath, they could just build the ramp up a little higher and a little more firm, and have the ramp just going up over the top of Castle Rock instead of actually sitting on top. So it is a tourist attraction. I think it costs like $1 to climb the rock. The other thing people overlook here is this really cool vintage sign. It's been here forever. Look at a good view of that. Look at that sign there. It's like an actual scale replica of the rock, the base rock, and the climbing ramp that goes in between. And I think that's almost as interesting, the sign, as the rock itself. I just love these mid-century neon signs. And that's a great one. That's one you're not going to see very often, anything like that. Quick turn here down Rabbit Back Road. And they've got this little motel here, which doesn't look to be open anymore. I'm not sure. It's really small. Not much parking. 8 rooms. Well maintained, but certainly doesn't look like it's still open. One of the many things like this you find when you wander around the Upper Peninsula are things that are no longer open and they're just left to sit. Over here, We have this wooden fence structure. Waboose. Looks like it says Waboose, the first part of it, but I have no idea what the second part says or what it's actually here for. But there's a for sale sign in front of it saying that the property is listed for sale. There's one more interesting building here I wanted to show you guys too that I also don't have a clue what's going on up here either. I believe it may have been a convenience store or antique store at one time, but we're going to show it to you and see if anybody can leave a comment below and tell us more about what this was or is. It's really fascinating. It's an old blockhouse style fort construction type building with a log cabin in the middle, and it's called Fort Algonquin. And I don't know if this was a tourist attraction at one time or if it's just someone's house and they like this style of architecture so they built this. I really don't know anything about the history of this, so hopefully one of you out there who's been here or knows the history of St. Ignace can tell us more about what this is about. Here we are entering St. Ignace from the north along the old highway, and we can see this old Sands Motel here sign, which is really cool and definitely out of business and run down. The building itself isn't in too bad shape, but the restaurant lounge building is terrible. Looks very dangerous. Another one up here is kind of interesting that we took some pictures of last time I was in town. And now it actually looks like it's getting ready to reopen. And that's always a good thing. I love to see places that are empty actually get reopened and repurposed before they decay and fall apart beyond any useful life. Now this place here is the one I vlogged last 2 years ago that was totally abandoned. And now there's people actually living in there. It looks like it's being made into apartments. Lake trout, whitefish, homemade jerky, Menominee, pasties, fudge, cheese curds, fish sausage, you know, and as cool and as old and historic as this is with the old smokehouse and everything right here on site, I highly recommend you stop in here if you come to St. Ignace, because this is one of the really old, cool places that's been here forever, and they deserve your business. They've supported the community and they have really cool stuff inside, and I highly recommend a stop here at Manleys Fish.